everything on the cardinal cross. It doesn't get much more serious. We've been playing on the mutable cross for quite a while now, especially with Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto just hanging out there all year long, doing their little dance. Right now, we've got change happening as everything starts to move into Capricorn. We've still got Mercury and the Sun in Jupiter's house. This is still about philosophy and ideology. But you're going to see more and more government control, Capricorn control, and there's more to it than just government and military. This has to do with agriculture. This has to do with education. Being ruled by the higher self, the upper chakra houses. But this is playing out in a lower chakra house. So's this. So's the Aries energy. That's lower chakra house. Let's do this real quick. I want to show you so you can see what today looks like. We have, I want to do the pillars. So, let me do it this way so we'll just incorporate the sun right into it. We'll do the solar pillar, the lunar pillar, moon's in Virgo today, the ladder, and the checkerboard floor. So we have the Sun and Mercury in Sagittarius in mutable fire. So they're right here in severity, in a sign of mutation. Anything on the mutable cross is there to change. So to bring about change. So Mercury definitely in play, and Venus fixing to come into it. Venus is fixing to hit that mutable cross and go through transmutation. So is Mercury. Now we got Pluto sitting here, and Pluto's been in and out of Capricorn, Sagittarius, doing that retrograde dance right along with Saturn and Jupiter. Now, when Pluto gets ready to leave a sign and go into the next sign, if the alchemy of the previous sign has not been done, it will be done in a single day. Keep that in mind as we move forward. Saturn and Jupiter in Capricorn. That's right here with Pluto. All the planets move into Capricorn next month. It's going to be tight. Capricorn is about restrictions. This is a month to get your house in order. Be where you're going to be. Prepared to spend some downtime. I expect, but even between now and then, as the planets just start to move into Capricorn for the next 30 days, you're going to see earthquakes increase in frequency and in magnitude and in auspicious places, especially with everything bunching up on the cardinal cross, especially with Pluto finally making that exit. And when Pluto leaves that house sign, people haven't done their homework. Wow, let's go back to today. This whole thing, this whole year, this whole dynamic has been about Sagittarius. It's been about philosophy and ideology. And while Pluto was there, that alchemy was supposed to be done. You got to take away the old to bring in the new. It's like finding out Santa Claus is not real. You got to put on your new mask, your new face, your new paradigm, your new ideology. Where do we go from here? Well, if Santa's not real, who is he? Well, who's bringing the presents? Well, why did you lie to me? Well, where does all this come from? It can leave you with a million questions. I get it. I see what it is. I see what it's saying. It tells us the who, what, when, where, why, and how of it all. I understand the difference between the inner. You can even see some of the symbols are so similar to the ones we use. The lunar calendar, the solar calendar, and the outer calendar. They're all three here. The long count, the big picture, the hob. We even have what they call mundane astrology, which is day to day. That's really what lunar astrology is. It's the moon moves through a house every 2 days. So it's day-to-day astrology. And that's called mundane astrology. Now I'm seeing it as the observer from the middle pillar, big picture, long count calendar. I see the outer rim of it all. And how everything is projected inward. Everything projects inward. What do I mean by projecting inward? Let me buy me some space right here. There are different ways of looking at everything. We've talked about perspective, like the cube, and it being a dice. If I see a 1, then you see a 6. If I see a 2, then if you're opposite me, then you see the number 5. But regardless, they always add up to 7. Now, and there are only 11 rolls in dice. Because there are 2, you can't roll a 1. So the only choices are between 2 and 12, which is 11 moves. Now, in astrology, remember there are different kinds. You have the solar pillar. That's Western astrology, and it's bent by 23 degrees. I call it the Leaning Tower of Pizza. And then you have the lunar, and then you have the middle path, the heaven and earth. There are 3 different ways of looking at it. Now, we're down here. We're the checkerboard floor. We're on the earth. We're below. We're down here. But this is still an upper chakra. Venus. We start with Mercury, Venus, Saturn. Mercury, Saturn, Venus. Between upper and lower houses. Now, we have solar astrology, which looks at everything that the sun is in the middle. Sun is in the middle. We call that solar centric. And then we have lunar astrology, and it has the moon in the middle. It's lunar centric. But then you have the middle path, which is geocentric. That means the earth is in the middle. We are geocentric. To be geocentric, you have to be up, looking down. You have to come from the long count, and the hob is the mundane, which is the short count, ruled here. And the sun rides them both. The moon and the sun go around the same circles, but they're going this way. They go this way. Our day-to-day lives go counterclockwise, but the sun is moving through the long count, goes this way. There are two stories. One's told one way and one's told the other. While we're living out our day-to-day mundane lives, going counterclockwise, the sun is on a journey the other way. The heliocentric is going the other way. And they've tried to lock it so that it don't move. And they locked it using a lunar calendar to do it, to balance it out. But I don't know if that makes any sense to any of you, that everything up there is projecting to the center, projecting to the geocentric, but that's going to flip. The earth right now is the stage. All the lights are projecting down here. They project onto us. I believe the earth is the third eye. You have the masculine right eye, the sun, the feminine lunar eye, the moon left, and then the third eye. Right in the middle is the earth. And when it opens, then the projection goes from the center out. Right now it's like the lights above us are imploding down onto us. They're projecting down onto us. It's the show. They're the lights. They're us. But that's going to turn around. In the next stage, that turns around and the projection comes out instead of in. Symbolic language of nature from us. They go to great lengths for that. They are not the true lodge. But the true lodge is here. That's a fact. And it's waking up. Now, again, the Maurice Cottrell. If you haven't seen The Secrets of the Super Gods, go back and watch it. And he's telling you the same thing I'm telling you. When the tongue moves one way on to the left, the eye switches. They switch in eyes. That's all they do. And that's part of the symbolism. How many celebrities have you seen that they show one eye or the other? They're telling you what, whether they belong to the solar pillar cult or to the lunar pillar cult. They're telling you which side they're on. How many, and they always stick the tongue out to one side or the other. That tongue needs to come straight out down the middle with both eyes open. You want all three eyes open. You want to be able to see from all three perspectives. That's why I come down on solar astrology, because it is leaning. Its dynamic is off. It's not being interpreted correctly at this point in history. And it's part of what the problem is. Because it's projecting down here as well, based on the dynamic we're sending back with a crooked pillar. But at the same time, it's good for edification. All script is good for edification. In the flash drive library, there's some pretty wicked books in there. There are Necronomicons in there. There are grimoires in there. And but I've read them. I've reread a lot of them since I really began to understand the imagery of alchemy. And then you get a whole new meaning to that, just like Maurice Cottrell is showing us. If you look at it one way, it looks like debauchery. But if you look at it the other way, it looks like, in one aspect, they're trying to kill each other. But in the other aspect, they're making love. It's almost like the two sides of Mars, right? Make war, make love. But that middle pillar, that middle path, that third eye, to where you can see it all. You can see the left hand and the right hand. But you also see the middle, right down the middle. And it's not the bringing of the two together. That's the false lodge. You can't bring the solar pillar and the lunar pillar together. That's what I call the cult of the eclipse, where you bring lunar and solar together. Now, the lunar pillar can always enter the house of the solar pillar, but the solar pillar can never enter the house of the lunar pillar. You can see the moon in the day, but you can never see the sun at night. There's a difference. And it's the same with the symbols changing. And I totally agree with Confucius that laws and words do not rule anything. The signs and the symbols do. And that's just nature's language. And we all know this language. It's all embedded into us. It's all in our DNA. And you can connect with your own. But you need to do it the proper way. It needs to be done the right way. I don't dabble in magic per se. I'll do rituals like smudging, but I don't like spell casting because I don't know what I'm doing, and I know that there's such a thing as the law of equivalent exchange. And for me to get something, I must give something. And if I'm not fully aware or understanding what the exchange is, then I'm not willing to enter into it. We know not when you're playing with magic. The price can be very high. We're always warned about that in all the horror movies, right? Be careful what you wish for. That's witchcraft. Witchcraft is really strong. Now, I do what's comfortable with me. When I was young, I grew up very connected to nature, very connected to the animals, and I still am. And that's what I know and what I trust. But it's hard for me I see the power in the spells. I watch what others are doing and decipher the symbolism. And you can look at the symbolism that's being used today by the powers that be, and you know where that's coming from. You know the spell they're casting. You can look in the Picatrix, literally. It's a spell book, and you can see what they're doing just based on the imagery. But there are prices to pay for that. Now me, I prefer things naturally. I believe that I'm a natural initiate. I didn't choose it, it chose me. I didn't choose astrology, it chose me. I didn't choose any of this. This is not what I would have wanted for my life. Hell, I didn't even want a life. I didn't even want to be here. This place is horrible to me. If hell is any worse than this, I can't imagine it, because the most horrible things ever thought of go down in this realm. It's incredible at how bad it really is when you look into that darkness, at what's really in there. Yeah, I wouldn't advise it. Don't look, because when you look at it, it looks at you. By the way, this is a two-way street here. It's like in Lord of the Rings. You couldn't look into the eye. When you looked in, it looked back. And it's the same way with the stars. When you look at them, they look at you. When you observe them, they observe you. We are giving our energy to it. It responds in like. So if you give your energy to these two pillars, they're going to respond in like. If you ignore them, they will ignore you. You're no threat. You're not an asset, but you're not a threat to either side. You're just an observer. You're in the audience. But the time is coming that, like I said, everything's projecting down here. It's going to flip, and everything is going to project from here. Talk about witchcraft. all you're going to have to do in the next stage is think it, and it is. Because you moved from I believe, which has doubt embedded into it, to I know, which is full manifestation power. It's the knowing that manifests it all, not the believing. Belief in itself, you've got to believe the lie that's in the middle of that. It's the be-lie. It's not true. It's like doctors. They just practice medicine. They're practitioners. They're not masters. They're just practicing. They don't know what they're doing. They have a license to practice. That's why they call it malpractice. Malfeasance. They're not very good at practicing. So they're not really liable because they're not masters. This is a mutable age. We've mastered nothing. We've mastered nothing. But we will in the next age. Because we're going to move out of this lie. And a lot of that's coming. A lot of Saturn is fixing to set the record straight on a lot of shit. So all those who did not do their Pluto and Sagittarius work, all their shit's they're fixing to find out freaking Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny are not real. That's what's fixing to happen, is a whole shitload of people are fixing to find out that Santa's not real. And somebody's going to have to be there to pick up the pieces and explain that to them. And that's kind of going to be our role. As you're the one that did your alchemy, you've already been through the shift, you can help process them when the shit hits the fan for them. Because it's going to hit them hard. Especially with what's coming down the pipe in the next 2 months. This is very fiery. With that Aries and Sagittarius energy playing out. And it's also very quaky with all that Capricorn energy coming in. All that cardinal energy. That's to the extreme. That's something cardinal is to the extreme. The apex. It's coming to the apex. Alright, y'all hang in there. Get your houses in order. Don't be afraid. Do not drop into the lower chakras. Remain in the upper chakras. Remain the observer. If you ignore it, it will ignore you. And you just go about your business. Do what you got to do. You do you. And when the time comes, you'll be prepared and ready to step in and help those that are closest to you that did not make the transition, that are fixing to go through the shift in a more personal way because they refused to do it while they were given the opportunity of Pluto and Sagittarius. So very fiery. It could get emotional. It could get volatile because that fire is aspecting. Look, they could lose their mind. This Uranus is all up in this. They could have a mental freaking breakdown and just lose their freaking minds on a conscience and a subconscious level. Pluto playing cardinal and fire, and Mars in cardinal fire. He's aspecting both Sagittarius and Capricorn. He's not going away just because the shift occurs. He only intensifies. The aspect only grows tighter. And a lot of times, again, it's not what they're saying. It's what they're not saying. And if you ignore something long enough, it'll go away. It's like covetousness. It's what you see, right? You covet what you see. You covet what you see every day. Law over here, thou shalt not covet. Because the eyes are lustful. And that's Mars, who rules that. Mars rules that chakra. He also rules jealousy, right? He rules emotion. I'm a jealous God. You'll have no other God before me. I'm jealous. That's all straight up Aries. But we're moving into Capricorn. Everything's going to be moving into Capricorn. So it's going to be slow going. It's going to be patient. It's going to be orderly. It will be putting things in order. Their whole premise of this is order out of chaos. They've created the chaos. Now they're ready to manifest their order. And unfortunately, those in power are being dominated over by that guy right there. Mars in the Cairo symbol. He's ruling the show over the whole frickin' age. So it's not really Capricorn energy at all. It's Jupiter-Mars energy. But Saturn's in control this time. Saturn's in control now. So we should expect the unexpected. There's going to be a lot uncovered. Veils are coming down. Secrets are coming out. Saturn is about simplicity. Less is more. The truth. It's what I call hard truth. My mother used to have a phrase. Tough love. It's tough love. There you go. It's tough love. Doing it for your own good. You may not like it now, but you'll be grateful later. That's the way that should be said. Nothing to fear. That's just going to throw you into the lower chakra and just energize the thing you're fighting against even more. So, do like Merlin did to Queen Mab and just turn your back on them. Do like they did in Poltergeist and just roll your TV out onto the balcony and then cancel your subscriptions. Now, you need to be writing your own story instead of watching somebody else's anyway. Everybody needs to start a journal. Everybody needs to open their YouTube channels. You do. You need to put your story out there. You need to get it into the cloud, so to speak. Think about what I'm telling you here. There are hidden messages and everything. Some things you just can't come right out and say. And I get it. I finally get it. It's the profane. They can't understand. They're not supposed to understand. It's not their time yet. Everybody gets his day in the sun. Everybody. But this age is not for everybody yet. Everybody's on their own path. Everybody's got their own cross to bear. And we shouldn't be trying to make them bear crosses that are not their own. And yes, you should help your brother carry his cross. If you see someone stumble and fall, don't be their donkey and carry it for them. But you can help them up and get back on their feet again, no problem. That's as it should be. You do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And that's the only way to live. If you want somebody to be cruel to you, then be cruel. But if you want respect, if you want love, if you want honor, then that's what you have to be. That's the law of equivalent exchange. You will reap what you sow. We're fixing to get a taste of that. We're not in Aquarius yet. We're still in Jupiter's age, but right now we're fixing to get a glimpse after the dust has settled, after all this goes down and the dust has settled, and Saturn is clearly in control. By the next eclipse, 2024, you're going to get a good vision of what Aquarius is going to be like. We're finally going to have a template. It's going to be an interesting year, to say the least. And there will be tears. There will be destruction. There will be natural disasters. Probably some of the greatest we've seen in our lifetime. We can expect to start beginning this year straight through 2024, because all this is about the cardinal cross now. So it will be to the extremes. We're almost finished with this mutation. We're looking at the last remnants, Venus, the Sun, and Mercury, the last remnants of the mutation, and Pluto being here. And then all that energy is going to shift from the transmutable state to the cardinal state, from chaos into order. Y'all know what to do. Be the love that you want to see in this world. What you put out there is what you're going to get back, especially with Saturn coming in control. He plays fair and square. You will get what you deserve, karma or dharma. And y'all know what to do. Bank your karma, and hey,